Welcome to the 4th episode of Women Just Like You, a podcast full of advice for women in the middle of their careers directly from women who are in the middle of theirs. I'm your host, Audrey the Career Woman, a fellow mid-career woman, and we are so lucky to have Jennie Kaplan Woodson join us today, a group sales manager at the iconic Hyatt Regency nestled on the San Francisco Embarcadero. She's spent 9 years in hospitality and absolutely loves what she does. Jennie and I have been two peas in a pod after meeting at a mutual friend's bachelorette party 3 years ago. The very first day I met her, we literally stood outside Oakland Airport as she got the call to rejoin Hyatt sales once the hospitality industry started rebounding after COVID. Talk about a boss lady doing whatever needed to be done to close the most important deal ever, closing herself as a Hyatt employee. We definitely celebrated the love and the career moves that weekend. On the episode today, we'll hear how Jennie found a complementary career in wine when COVID layoffs forced her out of her 9-to-5, and how today she's advocating for herself and younger women in the hospitality sales world every day. And from personal experience, she's flat out killing the sales and the mentorship and the wine game. The wine especially complementing our standing Monday bachelor date night. Side note, we stand for Joey this season. Thank goodness he's revitalized the franchise. Back to our conversation. So, Jennie and I have been through several career conversations with each other. Think practicing negotiating for promotion, determining when to walk away during an interview process, and navigating office politics. I can't wait for y'all to listen to two besties chatting after work one day. Just a heads up, I am not an expert audio editor. There are a couple times in this episode where you'll hear some feedback and some echo. They correct themselves in just a second or two, so bear with me as the podcast plays itself out. Alrighty, gals, let's buckle up and dive into it. All right, Jennie, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to have a great conversation about you, your career in sales, and kind of what your career's been like today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. You were so funny when you asked me, but I was happy to do it.
You know, you and me on a bus coming back from getting our nails done, my palms were sweating. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm about to make my first ask to have someone be a guest on my podcast. And you were just like, yeah, sure, let's do it. No questions asked, no judgment.
You were so funny. You were like, I've been wanting to ask you for 3 weeks. I don't know the good time, but it was super great. Yeah, no, happy to be here. Yeah, let's have a conversation about some hospitality sales.
Let's do it. But I imagine when you were a kid, you didn't necessarily imagine being in hospitality sales. So what did you want to be when you grew up?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I don't think I ever really wanted to have I don't think I ever had a goal. I don't think I ever knew what I wanted to do. I started in college just going for a standard business degree because I had the inclination. I was like, you can do anything with a business degree, not truly knowing what that path would look like, and kind of fumbled my way in freshman year of college into the hospitality program. So obviously it worked out because I'm still doing it 9 years later. Some people want to grow up and be a ballerina or a firefighter. That was never me. I was more than happy to run around and play some soccer.
Where is the soccer now?
The soccer quickly turned into, I played kickball in San Francisco on a league. I don't know if I could easily run for 90 minutes at this point in my life.
I don't think most people can run for 90 minutes at any point in their life.
But yeah, no, the soccer was huge, starting at age, I don't know, 2 or 3 to 18. So yeah, huge part of growing up, but not so much in the adult life.
Well, that's okay. Kickball, still fun. Pretty much everyone can play that. So you make friends doing it, right?
Yeah, I figured I had the foot-eye coordination, so it was a given.
All right, kickball pro in our future right here. Jennie.
Here we go.
Watch out, world. All right, so you obviously didn't go down the professional soccer route, maybe the professional kickball route in the future. Who really knows? But
we will see.
Could you kind of tell us a little bit about your career path to date? I know you kind of focused a little bit on hospitality as your college career kind of went on, but how have you kind of navigated your career to date?
I stumbled into the hospitality program freshman year of college. There was a girl in my dorm after the first semester that I had seen doing all of these like really fun, like crafty projects and all of that surrounding her hospitality intro class. I was like, that looks fun. So I started checking it out. Obviously got my feet wet, started taking courses, and then all the way through college worked in restaurants. Restaurants was my go-to. It was the easiest thing to do. It was good money. It was flexible being a student, full-time student. So it was always restaurants. In the hospitality program that I was going to school for, I actually got my emphasis with events and meetings. So in doing so, I never truly thought I'd end up in hotels. Again, stumbled my way into that. But I have my emphasis with events and meetings with the understanding that I wanted to be an event planner or a wedding planner or do kind of those big function events. But upon graduation, I got a hospitality job as a sales and catering coordinator, working for Wyndham Hotels. So that was kind of my first introduction into the hotel sales route. And it just kind of stuck. I mean, I've been doing it at this point 9 years, but I love it. It seems to be what I'm good at. Obviously sales isn't for everyone, but in terms of my career path, it was kind of a little bit of missteps creating into where I am now. I worked for the first hotel in San Diego. I was there for just about a year before I made the move up to Sonoma County, in which turn I had the opportunity to either work for Hilton Hotels or Hyatt Hotels. Same position, lateral position. Hyatt offered me more money, and Hyatt was a brand new product. So at that point in my career in 2017, the properties I was choosing between was a better product paying a higher salary or a more outdated product paying a lower salary. So that kind of got me in the door with Hyatt. And here we are 7 years later, still doing the same thing. So,
and that same thing is a group sales manager, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So for people that don't know what a group sales manager does.
Yeah, I honestly will have to have my parents listen to this because I don't even think they know what I do on a day-to-day. I always see those memes of like, we should have a dinner party, but at the dinner party, every single one of our friends has to do a PowerPoint of what they do on a day-to-day basis, just so we all understand. I think that would be amazing. Yes, group sales in a hotel setting. So if you have ever booked a room for a soccer team, you know, you call the hotel, you say a code, you get a discounted rate. If you have ever gone to a gala event at a hotel or a convention at a hotel, the sales department of that hotel are the people in the hotel who are booking, contracting, servicing all of those events. So in a group sales role, reaching out to clients, having clients reach out to me, and taking them through the original proposal process of, I have these dates available, these rates available, this discount available, this space, your food and beverage contribution, all of that. I'm taking them from the original proposal stage into the negotiation stage, into the contracting stage. As soon as I have a signed contract on my desk, I actually turn it over to another part of our team called our planning team, who takes it from a contract into a full-blown event, and they will handle the menus, how the room is set up, the timing of the event, things of that nature. But in terms of the group sales role, you're basically taking something from proposal to signed contract.
So it's not the stereotypical sales job that what a lot of people think sales, they think of car salesman, you know, where you're a pushy person, like trying to close a deal anytime someone walks on property, and you're not, you know, that outbound, you know, affiliate marketer who is part of that pyramid scheme type thing where you're just calling and you're getting all your friends and family. You know, I fell down that rabbit hole right out of college. So like I've been there. But you know, those are
Right.
kind of the stereotypes of what sales is. So it sounds like your role is more of like an inbound, you know, a lot of people want to know if there's something you can do for them at your specific hotel. And you kind of say, this is our product. It's pretty cool. Don't you like it? You want to buy? And you kind of, it's a very relationship type business versus that transactional,
Absolutely.
make a quick deal.
I mean, there's definitely a transactional aspect to it, but in the nature of hospitality, it's people. You're constantly connecting with people. I mean, you know this. I travel so much for work, and at all of my travel, I'm meeting clients for dinner. I'm going to Warriors games. I'm taking them out. I'm building those client relationships. So when they have anything come across their desk as a meeting planner of, we want to go to San Francisco, the first thing in their head is, I have to call Jennie. You know, like I have to call Jennie. I have to see if the Hyatt can accommodate. It also goes into, you know, I've worked with certain clients, being with Hyatt for 7 years, that I have a client who anytime they have any program anywhere in the continental United States, they email me their request for proposal for this state, and they send it to me to send out to my Hyatt properties in that state. So it kind of goes into that relationship sales role where now I'm being more of a global sales to help them negotiate with different hotels within my same portfolio.
So a lot of variety in terms of what you're actually doing on a daily basis.
Absolutely. Yeah, no day is ever the same. And I think anyone in hospitality, ops, operations, front desk, food and beverage, restaurants, they would all tell you the same thing. There's never a dull day in hospitality.
I can only imagine. So I know you don't just do your sales job at Hyatt. You also have a second job today, but you've also had multiple jobs basically your entire career, you know, both a kind of a corporate role and kind of retail work, flexing back and forth. Like sometimes your retail work is your primary role, sometimes your corporate job is your primary job. Like props to you, super hustling. We love to see it. What were some of
Thanks.
the reasons why you went to get a second job or to make a move either at the same time or, you know, flexing back and forth between the two types of jobs?
Yeah, I mean speaking back to college, I mean I worked many restaurants, and I think you hit the nail on the head. It's the hustle. I mean, at the heart, yeah, I am in hospitality, but like we're in sales, babe. Like get that money, go get yours. Like you're always hustling. You're always trying to get the as much money as you can. You and I live in a very expensive part of the world.
Yeah.
It's not easy to be a single income in where we live. So yeah, it's constantly that hustle. Yeah, I mean the side hustle that I'm doing now is really fun. It was a COVID job for me, but I decided to stay on because it's fun. I work 1 day a week at a wine bar in gorgeous Sausalito, less than a block from the water. I have a local following with the wine bar. I get to talk to friends. I've been there for 4 years, so I get to just have those relationships, have those conversations. But I also get to drink wine while I work, and I
Huge
get to
perk.
keep my wine discount. So I mean, it doesn't suck on a Saturday.
Yeah. When you went to go get that job, I know it was during COVID and the layoffs were imminent in hospitality. Like you were hitting your stride, you know, and you made that move from Sonoma County down to the big, beautiful property in San Francisco, your dream property. And then COVID hit and layoffs hit, and it was tough. You know, I think you moved home for a couple of months before coming
Yep.
back down to the Bay Area. What was it like navigating that layoff?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was tough. So obviously I started with Hyatt in 2017. started at a very entry-level sales role, called an executive meeting manager. I was selling all of my own groups. I was also servicing all of my own groups. So I was basically taking the group from original proposal through contracting, and then I was servicing them while they were on property. I was doing all of the menus, layouts, all of that. I ultimately moved my way up into much more of a sales corporate focused role. So I was handling mostly the wine industry in Sonoma County. I was handling the key accounts being Jackson Family Wine, Rodney Strong, St. Francis Winery, kind of those big key accounts. Ultimately got to the point where I needed something bigger. I needed something more exciting. Sonoma County was a little slow for me. I wanted to get back to the city life. And as you touched on, the property that I'm currently at now, the Hyatt Regency San Francisco, right across from the Ferry Building, it's a dream property. It's absolutely stunning. It's been standing in its entirety for 50 years. We just celebrated our 50th anniversary. It's absolutely an incredible product. Our owners just put, over COVID, $55 million into guest room renovation. So it's stunning. I mean, you've seen it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. For everyone listening, just go into the lobby. The lobby is just one of the most incredible things you'll ever see. So just go and see it if you're in San Francisco.
But in making that move, I ultimately got promoted into the new hotel, and I made the move from Sonoma County. I downsized into a studio. I made the move. I moved my whole life in February of 2020.
Yeah, great timing.
Perfect timing to be to a brand new city and move your entire life. Ultimately, as Audrey touched on, I did get laid off literally 4 weeks into starting the new role. So yeah, there was some turbulence that went along with that, as we all kind of felt during COVID. I mean, the hotel itself completely shut its doors from March of 2020 to October of 2020, which was the first time it had shut its doors in 47 years. So it was huge. It was a huge impact to San Francisco, to the San Francisco financial district. But in terms of my navigation, as you touched on, the wine bar was, yes, a COVID job. I needed to do something. I needed to get out of my parents' house. I needed to be back in San Francisco in my own space. And I needed to be doing something, because for 4 months of unemployment, it was a lot to just do nothing. So I started at the wine bar doing all of their sales and marketing. In my internal interview with the boss, I basically said, I like wine. I don't know wine, but I can sell anything. So teach me the wine, teach me the tasting notes, let me work under your sommelier, and I will sell the crap out of it for you. And that's exactly what we did. We did that for a year, just selling cases, making sure everyone had their wine as we navigated what was the coronavirus pandemic. And then, and here I am now, working 1 day a week just because it's so damn fun.
It's honestly been a really good blessing for you. You know, you've got a really fun community up there. It's also taught you like a completely new but related industry to what you're kind of doing. You know, wine is very central to hospitality and entertaining. I also know that during the pandemic, you took that a little bit further, right? Like you ended up loving this job, that you got some additional certifications, right?
Yes. So as part of, obviously, I was there full time for a year. I was working directly under their wine buyer, who was a level 1 sommelier. So I was constantly tasting. I was in all her tasting appointments. And I mean, it's a little hard not to fall in love with the California wine industry. I mean, it's hard. We make some great wines.
We do.
But I was fortunate enough to receive funding through San Francisco Wine School. I received a partial scholarship to take WSET Level 2 and WSET Level 3, which I got certified in both during the pandemic.
For our listeners that don't know what that acronym stands for, and I still don't know, and you've said it to me so many times, what does it stand for, and what is it?
Yes. So it's out of Europe, but it's the Wine and Spirit Education Trust. So how I like to describe it to people is, everyone is familiar with sommelier. Everyone's familiar with som and what it is. whereas not everyone is familiar with WSET. How I like to view it is you study to be a sommelier, to be in a restaurant, being the wine pairer, being the service. You learn the tasting notes that pair with this. You learn the service aspect of the wine industry. Whereas WSET is much more focused on like the region, the soil, the grape skin, the pulp, the winemaking process, and all of those little attributes that go into what you're consuming rather than the service side. So I really chose to go into the WSET side because I was really intrigued with like, okay, so why does a French Burgundian taste so much different than a Sonoma Coast Pinot? You know, like same grape, very different regions, very different soils. So I wanted to know the difference based on like the skin of the grape, the Zinfandel being, you know, a thinner grape, you know, all of that. So that's really why I went into those two certifications, which have, you know, just enhanced my wine knowledge tremendously.
It's also, I'm sure, helped with clients in your day job today.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't suck when you're going out to dinner, entertaining clients, and you know exactly what's on the wine list.
And you compare.
You can speak to,
yeah.
Yeah, you can speak to the region. You can speak to, okay, if you like a Gamay, you're also going to like this Beaujolais. You know, you can speak to those different wine topics, knowing what your client is enjoying.
Yeah. You've said so many wine varieties that I don't even remember ever hearing in my life. And, you know, so thank you for continuing to educate me on wine, because every day is a full day with Jennie and wine. So you obviously made the most out of the layoff and the pandemic. Today, there's a lot of people facing layoffs. They're starting to hit, you know, a lot of different industries. What advice would you give to people facing layoffs today? Would you give them advice to go potentially get additional education, maybe certifications to up level? What kind of advice would you give to people who are in the same position you were in a couple of years ago?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was doing something that you're excited about. You know, if you're getting laid off from something you've been doing for 5+ years, 3+ years, and you know it was your day to day, it was your Monday through Friday, it was your 9 to 5, like use this layoff as an opportunity to go do something that excites you, go do something that you might not like. I loved wine, I drank it, it was great, didn't know X from Y in regards to wine, but I was like, this is an opportunity to really enhance my knowledge, my taste palette. And the reason that I'm still doing it today, 4 years later, is because it still excites me. I still learn new things. I'm still getting introduced to so many new wines. But that would probably be my biggest thing, is it's an opportunity rather than a hindrance. And go do something that is going to be exciting for you.
Yeah, I love that. I think layoffs can seem really scary. I've been very fortunate in life to never have faced one. I was able to convert to fully remote job during COVID. Like my job just everyone went remote. It was great. But it is really a good perspective that this is a chance, no matter how long you've been doing what you've been doing, to just kind of do a little reset and a reevaluation of, am I doing what excites me? Am I doing what I love? So maybe people listening to this today can hopefully take a couple of minutes and just do, you know, sit with a little bit of personal development, professional development, and figure out if what you were doing is what you want to be doing next.
Yeah.
Which leads me to
I was just going to say, I will speak to that. When I got called back to Hyatt hotels, I mean, you know the amount of back and forth of do I want to stay in the wine industry, or do I want to go back to what I've been doing? And I played with that for probably a week and a half. I mean, you know that.
I literally met you the day you got the phone call. You and me were standing outside of an airport together on our way to a bachelorette party, and you got a phone call. And I was like, this girl is cool. Like, I want to be her friend. And here we are several years later. So
Yep.
I'm really curious on like, what was it? You were toying with this idea of wine versus back into like kind of corporate sales. What was it about the role or the hotel or the city, or what was it that made you want to go back? You had that chance to evaluate what you were doing and you decided to go back.
Yeah. I might get some hate from your followers on this one. But the ultimate decider. Oh, I don't know if I should say this. My dad might give me a call. The ultimate decider was my dear, dear father helping me through the pros and cons and ultimately saying, when you're 60 years old, do you want to be pouring wine?
Oh.
And I thought about it and I thought, and I want to grow my career. That was the ultimate decider. It was that mindset change of, in 30 years, what do you want to accomplish? Do you want to stay pouring wine, selling wine in an industry that is a little tumultuous in regards to alcohol and, the party side? Or do you want to go into something that you kill at, that has the 401, that has the benefits, that has the travel, that do you want to go into something a little bit more secure? And I think that was my decision. But what brought me back to the specific hotel was, we touched on it earlier, it's a dream. It was my dream to sell that hotel. And at the time that I had the decision to go back, I had only got to work there 4 weeks.
So when a dream comes back around, sometimes you just got to take it.
Sometimes you do.
Yeah. I love that. Just grasp it. Anytime an opportunity comes to you, you take it. I know you got a chance to raise your hand for a promotion. Just like a year or so after you came back to the hotel. What was it like to be the one advocating for yourself for that promotion?
Yeah, I mean, it was huge. I mean, you and I had many conversations regarding it, but ultimately, I mean, that's a terrifying place to be. That's a terrifying conversation. I will say, as a younger female in a corporate world, advocating for what you think you deserve. No, advocating for what you do deserve and what you've proved your worth. Advocating for what you deserve and the worth that you've provided to the company. You still feel terrified going into that conversation to be like, this is what I'm worth. Take it or leave it. So yeah, it's absolutely terrifying to go into that. But at the end of the day, once you do it and once you achieve it, it's pretty empowering. I have a friend of mine who is younger than me. She's newer in her career, that I've been a little bit mentoring throughout her training program within Hyatt Hotels, who was just up for a full-time position. And every single thing that you and I had talked about at my promotion, in terms of knowing your worth and advocating, I pushed onto her, and she ended up with the role she wanted at an elevated salary. So,
and we love to see, like, kudos to you, kudos to her for having the balls to make the ask. A lot of women, want to make the ask, but don't know how to do it. What advice would you give them? Because it is a really empowering feeling going into those conversations. And no matter what the outcome of the meeting is, coming out of it and saying, I stood up for myself. Like, I was able to know my worth and put a price tag on that. What advice would you give to women who are going for a promotion or looking for a new job? Like, what advice would you give them today if they're in those shoes?
The biggest thing I kept telling her was, they've already offered you the job. Right now you're in negotiations. Like, they've already offered you the job. So the absolute worst thing that they're going to come back with is a no.
Right.
They're not going to be mad at you. They absolutely will not take away the job offer. That's not even on the table. The literal worst thing that they could say is like, we can't do that right now. But that's such a terrifying place to be, I think, for young women. I felt it when I negotiated mine. She was feeling it, but I literally kept telling her, I was like, the job is yours.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of advocating for what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And she ultimately got it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would be the biggest piece of advice is like, the worst is no.
Mm-hmm. The worst is no, and you're no better off than where you started. But you might be better off if you make the ask. Whatever that quote is, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right?
Yeah.
It's so true.
No,
And
I'm going through a similar situation right now where
Mhm.
I'm asking for exactly what I want. There's a redeployment going, and we're changing markets and things within the team right now. And there's been many conversations of like, well, we need you here, but you're, all of these different things. But having that conversation and truly advocating for like, I'll do what's best for the hotel and what you need and what you're asking of me, but we're going to do it, and we're going to do it with this, and this. And that's
Mhm.
the only way I'm doing it. It's the true advocation of, I'm more than happy to do what needs to be done of myself, but we're going to do this my way. And it's
Mhm.
that empowering within yourself of like, yeah, you're bettering your team and you're bettering the hotel, but you're going to do it what's best for you in the long run.
Mhm.
And I think that's the most important thing is you have to be your number one fan.
You do have to be your number one fan. If you aren't, then no one else is going to be, because, humans are selfish. And if
Yeah.
you aren't a little bit selfish in your career, you're going to miss out on some things. And it's so great for our listeners. Jennie and I literally had this conversation that she's talking about happened this morning, happened today. We're recording this after dinner. Her conversation happened this morning with her boss, and her and I talked at lunch. And the fact that like we happened to be recording this podcast tonight on the same day that like she had this conversation about, I'm going into this room, I'm asking for what I want, and I came out of it and I feel empowered. Like, what more could you ask for? Get them to say yes to all the demands. That's what you can, that's what you can hope for, right? But even going in and having the courage to know what you're worth and try to figure out a way to make both parties happy. It shows really good, business acumen and a good sense of like EQ and how you can use, to your point, hospitality is all about relationships, how you can use the relationships to help you. You wouldn't still be here, getting promoted today, literally having a conversation about having an even bigger impact at work. What do you love about your job that keeps you going back to it every day and having these continuous career conversations with people?
Yeah, I mean, I think I touched on it earlier, but hospitality, you never live the same day. There's always something. You're, like I said, we're in the business of people. So I might not work at the front lines. I might not be in the restaurant. I might not be at the front desk, but I'm constantly dealing with people. I'm dealing with my groups that are in the hotel that might have a question or a concern. I'm working my sales skills by negotiating a contract. I'm negotiating guest room rates. I'm also responsible. I'm responsible in a sense for, if I don't do my job, housekeepers don't work, outlets don't work, front desk doesn't work, because our job as hotel hospitality salespeople is to bring business into the hotel. Mm-hmm. We're literally bringing groups in, and when we bring groups in, we're busier. Our occupancy is higher. There's more money. Housekeepers get to clean more rooms. Food and beverage get to work banquet functions. Like, it's literally like, we have to succeed, and we have to like do our jobs and be good at what we do for the rest of kind of the hotel ecosystem to succeed as well. And I kind of love that. I kind of love that you can walk the halls and they know that if I ask them, I need you to prep this room for a VIP, they're like, yes, chef, here we go. Let's do it. Because they know ultimately what we're asking them to do is ultimately going to bring in more money to the hotel and therefore kind of elongate the ecosystem of the hotel.
Mm-hmm. That's a really great way to put it, that money makes the world go round, right? And bringing money into a site, into a company, into an organization is the way to kind of breathe life into the organization. And every dollar that comes in has a huge impact. It's that whole concept of like putting a dollar into the economy, if you put it in kind of at the beginning, at the lowest level, it will make really big circulations and have a huge impact on a lot of people. And it's really great to hear that kind of perspective. I've never thought of it that way with hotels and hospitality sales, but it totally makes sense. The more clients you can bring in and your team can bring in, the more that all of the kind of the next teams kind of downstream can work, and whether they're salary or hourly, like it does make a difference.
Totally.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about how you've kind of gotten to where you are today, how your career has progressed in the last couple of years, and kind of how you're feeling about your job in the present moment. What do you kind of imagine your career to look like in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I actually have been thinking a lot about this in the past couple weeks. I don't know what that looks like right now. Global sales has always intrigued me, of working above property level. So not having a designated hotel under me, but having a designated account under me. So much more of kind of a tech type sales role where you have a book of clients, but you would be selling this specific client to every single Hyatt hotel. So more on kind of a global sales aspect. That's really intrigued me. I've been having kind of career growth conversations about getting into those opportunities. Hopefully that happens in the next 5. I don't know what happens in the next 10. But I would love to stay with the company, with the corporation, but continue to do things on a little bit larger scale.
One step at a time, right?
There we go.
You speak it into existence, you're more likely to have it happen. So just keep saying that out loud and you'll get into global sales one day. If maybe someone will hear this podcast and think, Jennie, we want you to be a global sales manager. Like, no more San Francisco Hyatt. Come on up, girl.
Upwards motion.
So you've shared a lot of really great pieces of advice, of potentially getting more education or certifications. You've touched on doing things that you love and taking layoffs as an opportunity to take a pause and reflect. You've talked about advocating for your worth, being empowered to really make a difference in your own career and owning your career. What last piece of advice would you give to women who are in the middle of their careers right now?
Yeah, that's a hard one because I'd be speaking to people exactly in the place that I'm at. Yeah. And what advice do I want to give myself? I mean, I think you have to continually want to grow in order to kind of create the job and the career that you're going to want to achieve. One of the best compliments that was ever given to me by one of my bosses was that Jennie is a sponge. You tell her something and she absolutely soaks it in. Education has always been huge for me. And I think going into the middle of your career and continuing on through the middle of your career, you have to constantly keep learning or else it's going to get static. That's something I've kind of been playing with a lot in terms of myself. Obviously, just turning 30 is, am I enjoying what I'm doing? And if I'm not, what can I do to change that? So really going in and, joining new committees, Women at Hyatt, Green Committee, Green Team, anything that we can kind of do to re-energize, I think is going to be kind of the key in terms of the middle of your career.
Yeah. Going back to what you're saying about doing what you love, being excited about what you're doing. I love that. To close us out, I would love for our listeners to hear one of your favorite inspirational quotes or sayings that really resonates with you and gives you, a good message. What would be the last piece that you want our listeners to hear today?
Yes. So I've thought a lot about this. This is actually a badge and a pin that I have on my cork board next to my desk. It's been with me for I don't even know how many years, but it's a badge given to me at one of my conventions, and they call it your badge of honor. So basically what it is it's a little pin that says boss lady, and the quote that goes along with it is boss ladies are confident and unapologetic. They work hard, they take charge, and they empower others along the way.
I love that. You've talked a little bit about all of those points in this conversation today. You talked about having multiple jobs, hustling, working hard, taking charge in your own career, advocating for what you're worth and what you want, and also empowering others to do the same. That colleague at work who you're helping kind of make that conversion to a full-time employee and making that impact, that whole concept of, break a glass ceiling, bring a woman with you, reach your hand back and pull her up the ladder with you. And I love this. I love this quote. So thank you so much for leaving us with such a good message that hopefully resonates with everybody listening to us today. So with that,
Of course.
Jennie, thank you so much for joining us today. This was such a great conversation, and I'm so glad we got to dive into it.
Yeah, me too. I'm so glad you asked me.
On that bus a couple months ago.
But at least our nails look good.
They do. For everyone watching, we get our nails done pretty regularly. So a good set of nails can really make or break your day. So nails looking good. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, friend.
Wow, what a woman. But before we close out the episode, we have a very important update about Jennie. For context on timing, our episode was recorded on January 29th, which is the day she had that career advancement conversation. And the podcast is now being released today on March 27th, 2 months later. Just last week, she signed her new contract with Hyatt and will be a senior group sales manager mid-market, effective April 1, where she's got a fancy new title and a chance to mentor younger sales managers to be simply excellent at their jobs. Woohoo! So keep that in mind when you're thinking about career conversations, promotions, and salary increases at your job. If you know promotions happen April 1st, don't kick off conversations on March 20th. It does take time, so be proactive a couple months in advance, even if waiting sucks. But when the results come in, you can be proud to have advocated for yourself at the right time. Can we have a round of applause for Jennie as she takes the next step up the ladder toward getting the global sales job she was talking about? If you liked this episode, please share this conversation with the fabulous gal pals in your life. Because hearing about a kick-ass lady climbing the ranks of sales could be just the thing that a fellow saleswoman in your life needs to think, if she can do it, so can I. In the show notes, you can find ways to connect with both me, Audrey the Career Woman, and our guest Jennie, and a link to sign up for exclusive insights into the making of each episode and monthly career development recommendation. Like, subscribe, rate, and follow so you don't miss a future episode of Women Just Like You. See you next Wednesday for another episode of the podcast, where we'll talk to a woman who is literally navigating a tech layoff as we speak. And with that, thanks so much for tuning in this week to my conversation with Jennie on Women Just Like You. See you on air soon, guys. Bye.